Hey guys, welcome to 5-2, second installment here of Trimester. What we're going to talk about with triangles today is we're going to find out what the measure of all the angles of a triangle add up to. And then we're going to talk about how we can find what we call an exterior angle based off of two of the what we call the remote interior angles, or the opposite angles would be another way to look at it. Okay, so first off, we're just going to fill in the blanks here. The sum of the measures of the angles in a triangle is 180 degrees. So what that's saying is the three angles of a triangle add up to 180. So if we get a triangle and they give us two of the three angles, well, we know that those three angles have to add up to 180. So take what they give you, add it together, equal it to 180. In this case, we're just going to take 180 and then subtract off the 115 and the 35 added together. And that gives us the measure of angle G is equal to 30 degrees. Okay, so three angles of a triangle add up to 180. All right, well, what do we know about this triangle? One, it's a right triangle. Two, what do we know about the angle measures? All three of those add up to 180. That box is 90. We don't know A and we don't know B. Okay, so if we take what they give us and we subtract off 90 from the right angle, we know that A and B have to add up to 90 degrees. They're complementary. So when you guys are going through and working, some of you will go on the shortcut train, and if you see that 90-degree box, then you're just going to know the other two angles automatically add up to 90 degrees. All right. Most of us, to get started on this, will go through and add the three angles up equal to 180. When you do the 180 minus the 90, it's always going to give you that 90 in return. So we know A and B are going to be complementary. So find the measure of the missing angle. Well, there is no missing angle here. I don't know why that's there, because that's 60, that's 30, that's 90. So we're going to go like this. We're going to give you, we'll say 35. Okay, so find that missing measure. Well, two ways to do it. Take the three angles, add it equal to 180. And then subtract, and you get x is equal to 55. Okay, the other way to think of this, since they give you 90, we're just going to say the two angles that are left have to equal the remaining 90 degrees. So then you could subtract 35 and get 55. Subtract 35 from 90 and get 55. All right, so that's the concept of what we're doing. For interior angles, add what they give you, equal to 180. Okay, so you guys go ahead. Why don't you pause the video and then you try these two questions. And then when you're done with them, unpause them, and then we'll get going through them, okay? And when we get started on this, you're going to take the two angles they give you, and I'm always going to write them out, even though these ones you could just do in a calculator, okay? Just so we get used to writing out the equation, because when we get down here in a little bit, we're going to have to write it all out. So add those two together, subtract from 180, and you get 58 degrees. Okay, the second one, since that's 90 degrees, I know 40 plus something has to equal 90. And then so subtract, x is going to equal 50 degrees. Okay, so that's the nice ones when they just give us those sweet numbers. We can subtract from 180, life's all good. Now, we got to find the value of x. A couple different ways to go around doing this. I'm going to show you. You could just set that angle up equal to what it's supposed to equal, because all the other two angles add up to 130. What I'm going to do is just write an equation, take the angles that they give you, and then equal it to 180. Okay, because we're talking today the three angles of a triangle add up to 180 degrees. And then we can collect our like terms. It's going to be 132 is equal to 180. And then you can go ahead and subtract the 132. And then divide by 8. And you get x is equal to 6. Mission accomplished. All right. You guys try this one out. Remember, take the three parts, add them together and equal 180. So why don't you go ahead, pause the video, try this one out. Okay, so we're going to take the two angles they give us, the three angles they give us, add it together, and equal it to 180. And now we get to collect our like terms. X and x is 2x. And then the 59 plus the 84 plus the 11 is 154 is equal to 180. Subtract the 154 from 180, you get 2x is equal to 26. X then is going to equal 13. Now, what we might have to do, it just says solve for x, so we're done, but it might say find the measure of each angle. Well, E is already 84. If it asks us to find the measure of the angle, then we got to take the 13 and we got to plug it in. All right, but it's not asking us to do that in this case. All right, so that's the interior angles. All the angles of a triangle add up to 180. Now, when we go to what we call the exterior angle theorem, okay, because we have this, that's a linear pair, all right? So if I know this angle, let's say if this angle was 50 degrees, and it asks us to find out the outside angle, we would just take 180 and subtract off 50. We would get that outside angle is to be 130 degrees. Okay? What we also know, okay, is because the two angles of a triangle add up to 180, I also know that A plus B plus that 50 degrees is going to equal 180. And if I subtract, I know A plus B is also going to equal 130 degrees. Okay? So I'm using numerical values to show you what we're talking about here is that this exterior angle, this angle on the outside of the triangle, is equal to the two, what we call either the remote interior angles or the opposite interior angles. So to set up our equation, we're just going to add those two angles together, equal it to that outside angle, okay? So we have this, the measure of the exterior angles of a triangle equals the sum of the measures of the remote interior angles, or what we can call the opposite interior angles as well. Okay, we can talk about it one way or the other. Okay, so the exterior angle is this guy on the outside. That's our exterior angle. That's always going to add up to the two angles on the opposite on the inside. Okay, so how are we going to do this? We have our exterior angle. That's on the outside. That equals the sum of the two opposite or remote interior angles. So I'm going to add those together. Now I got me my equation. X and 65 are not like terms, so please don't say that. 65x, we get x plus 10 is equal to 65. X is equal to 55 degrees. Okay, why don't you guys pause the video quick and get to practice. Why don't you practice the last four, okay? Go through, set up the last four, try them out. I'll go through them. So we're going to solve for the value of x. The outside angle is equal to the two opposite interior angles added together. So subtract 50, and we get x is equal to 70. Okay, same thing. What is x? X is equal to the two inside angles added together, 70, and then that box is 90, so x is going to equal 160. Okay, the outside is equal to the inside opposite angles added together. Okay, I'm gonna collect our like terms. 5x is equal to 68. Ooh, it's gonna be 5x plus 68. Right, then we could subtract the 2, and then I'm also going to at the same time subtract that 5x. Saving some steps is all I'm trying to do. So we got 6x is equal to 66, and then x is going to equal 6 when you divide. Find the value of x. What it might ask you is find the value of each angle, then you're going to take and substitute that in. Okay, our second equation here, it says solve for the value of y. Okay, so we got to come up with a game plan here. That's the only value for y. We don't know anything about y. So what we're going to do is we're going to take what we just learned today and put it to use. We're going to take the outside angle equal to the two inside angles added together. And our plan is we are going to solve for x. And then what's going to end up happening is we're going to use the triangle sum theorem. All right, so that's going to be 2x. And at the same time, I'm going to add that 4 to both sides. So we get 2x is equal to 24. X is equal to 12. Okay, so now we're going to take the triangle sum theorem, the fact that the three angles of a triangle add up to 180 degrees. So I want to substitute that 12 in right up here. Okay, 10 times 12 is 120, minus 10. This angle is 110 degrees. So now I know that the three angles of my triangle are going to add up to 180, so we got 30 degrees given to us. We just found out the lower left-hand angle is 110, plus y, we don't know that yet, and that's equal to 180. Subtract the 140 from 180, and you get y is equal to 40 degrees. Okay, so that's the exterior angle, right? The two angles on the inside add together to equal the outside. The triangle sum theorem, the three angles of a triangle add up to 180. Notice how we're talking angles and not sides. And then these are some not necessarily huge need to know ones, but ways that we can speed up through the process a little bit. The first one is saying if you know two angles. All right, so if I give you this saying, hey, I know that this pair of angles are the same and this pair of angles are the same. If I know that two pairs of one triangle are equal to two pairs of another triangle, then I know that this third angle right here is going to be equal to each other. So if two pairs of angles are the same, then the third angle has to be the same. And that's what this first one is saying. Two angles of one triangle are congruent to two angles of another triangle. The third pair of angles are the same. Okay? Each angle of an equal angular triangle has a measure of 60 degrees. So anytime we come up with, in our triangle world, that's not so bad. Okay, if I know it's equilateral, all three sides are the same, or if I know all three angles are the same, so this would be a regular triangle, we call it equilateral. That's how you guys kind of learned it growing up. We automatically know these are 60 degrees. Okay, and why is that? I know that a triangle adds up to 180. That's what we learned today. And the three angles have to be the same, so then you would have to divide it into 3 equal parts, and that's where they all get 60. So some of these, the faster you put them to memory, the better off you're going to be. Okay, in a triangle, there can be at most one obtuse or one right angle. Okay, well, why does that make sense? Well, I know the angle of a triangle adds up to 180 degrees. I can't have two right angles because that would be 90 plus 90 plus a third angle would have to equal 180. Well, 90 and 90 is 180. X would equal 0. That doesn't make any sense. So you can only have one right angle. Same thing. I'll just use 91 for obtuse, right? It could be any value bigger than 90. But 91, this is 182. And when I solve, I'm going to get the third angle to be a negative degree measure, which isn't going to make any sense. So we got in a triangle, there can be at most one obtuse or one right angle. The other option is all three angles being acute. Okay? And then this one right here, the acute angles of a right triangle are complementary. We talked about that up top. If they give me a right triangle, I know that the other two angles have to add up to 90 degrees. Okay? So these are kind of like nice to know things, not necessarily need to know, but if you can commit them to memory, the better off you will be. Okay? So just remember the three angles of a triangle add up